Hello my beautiful kingdom, I your king here, and welcome back to another video. So, I've gone on the record to state that Wolverine is my favorite all-time superhero, right? I love the older edgy vibes that Wolverine gives off, the older brother vibes he gives off. I just love Wolverine a lot. That being said, I also have an affinity for Deadpool as well. Like, I love Deadpool. There's just something incredibly compelling about the story of a goofball trying to fix everything he's messed up, but he just ends up messing everything up even more. There's something compelling about that. I love his personality, I love his powers, I love his adventures, but I especially love it whenever he crosses over into the wider Marvel universe. Whether it's through a dedicated comic, a hero coming into his book, or him going over into other people's books, I just love when Deadpool's given the opportunity to bounce off of other characters in the Marvel universe, and I especially love it when the characters find out that Deadpool is a hero who indeed has a heart and is trying to do the right thing. That's why, when I found out that Deadpool would be crossing over with Batman, I was so hyped. This chaotic hero with a heart that I've grown to love so much is crossing over with DC's incredibly serious dirtbag. That is a match made in heaven. I was super excited for it. And then I read the comic. Deadpool Batman. I'm sorry, Zeb Wells. I know you've had a rough go at it with Spider-Man. I don't want to give you any more grief. God knows you've had enough grief. But genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, Deadpool Batman. This book genuinely felt like it severely misunderstood who Deadpool is as a character. I'll get into the specific problems I have with the comic later, but I walked away with it feeling like it wasn't a Deadpool Batman crossover, but instead a random crazy dude in red Batman crossover. This is not Deadpool at all, and that's coming from me, someone who I feel like is a more lenient Deadpool fan. Like for example, everyone hates the movies for how they portray Deadpool and for cutting out the more emotional parts of the character. But I personally love the movies precisely because of how they portray his emotional aspects without, giving him a daughter, without having any other established heroes for Deadpool to bounce back off of, right? So there's no Captain America, not even any Avengers or even any X-Men, right? Despite the fact that Fox owned a bunch of X-Men, it's just like 3 other heroes to bounce off of, right? So I think I'm very lenient for just loving those and for giving those movies grace for how they portrayed his emotional side, right? That's how lenient of a Deadpool fan I am. Everyone hates that movie's characterization, but I absolutely love those movies for the characterization they gave to Deadpool. So it means something when I say that the Deadpool portrayed in the Marvel DC crossover did not feel like Deadpool at all. At all. And the thing that makes this even worse is the fact that this is Marvel's stab at the book too. This was Marvel getting its own writers to write this. So you'd think they would have gotten Deadpool right because Deadpool is Marvel's own character. But they didn't. And that got me thinking, how has Marvel handled Deadpool in their own in-company crossovers? So, with this question in mind, I got into Marvel Unlimited and started reading a bunch of Deadpool crossovers. Just so many. Any book, any miniseries with Deadpool and another character in it, right? And it was after reading a bunch of these, well, not a bunch of these, 4 of these, that I realized I should probably do a ranking of all these. Which brings us to now, where I'm going to rank a bunch of Deadpool crossovers, including Deadpool Batman, just so we know where I'm coming from with these. So first, some ground rules. This is based and ranked mostly on the characterization of Deadpool in these crossovers, not on the other characters. Mostly because I did come into this wondering how Deadpool himself is characterized in these crossovers, so I feel like that's how we should rank them. I'll give commentary on the other characters whenever I can, but ultimately this is a Deadpool-based ranking only. And then there are going to be a bunch of books that I'm not counting, and here's going to be why. 1, the Spider-Man Deadpool crossover. I want it to stick, and that's because I want to stick to miniseries with these, right? I want to stick to miniseries in Spider-Man Deadpool or Deadpool Spider-Man. I'm sorry, just 50 issues. I might read through the entire thing and review it on its own video if you guys would like, but for this specific crossover ranking, I'm not ranking those. Next up is Deadpool Wolverine. I really want to do a separate video purely on just Deadpool Wolverine crossovers because Deadpool Wolverine I've crossed over many times, many times in the comics, so much that I could theoretically or realistically make it its own video, right? And 2, I actually know a lot about Wolverine. As established earlier, I really love Wolverine a lot and can speak to how both are characterized rather than just Deadpool specifically being characterized, right? So I feel like I could talk a lot about Deadpool Wolverine crossovers in its own video. 3, it's Deadpool Cable. Sorry, I can't speak today. 3, I didn't cover Deadpool Cable because it's just basically the same reason as like Deadpool Wolverine, right? They've crossed over so many times. I could probably make it its own video about it, just ranking those crossovers. I'm not as interested in Deadpool Cable as I am Deadpool Wolverine, but if you guys want it, great. And then third is a very specific Deadpool comic that I found that is a miniseries, but I just decided not to cover it anyway. And it's Deadpool versus Carnage. And I did that simply because I wanted to focus on Deadpool's crossovers with other heroes rather than him fighting like other heroes' villains, if that makes sense. So yeah, with the rules out of the way and what we're not including, I have four in Marvel crossovers, and then the one Marvel DC crossover to rank. So without further ado, folks, let's get into this, shall we? Number 5, Deadpool Batman. This comic is about Deadpool being brought to the DC universe to kill Batman. After a misunderstanding, it's found out that Deadpool was hired by Joker, so he and Batman team up to go after Joker. Things get weird when Deadpool double-crosses Batman, and that's kind of where I want to start with all this, right? This crossover is a complete mischaracterization of Deadpool. Wade, throughout the entire book, is portrayed as a character who keeps jumping between sides. One moment, he's working with Batman, the next, he's working with Joker. And don't get me wrong, I love that trope when it's done well, but to me, Deadpool isn't a character who fits into the whole, chaotic character who keeps crossing over between sides, good guys and bad guys, just because it's chaotic and it's good just for chaos' sake. I love that trope a lot, but Deadpool doesn't fit into it. If this were just some no-name force of chaos instead of Deadpool, I'd say this trope was done just fine, but because this is Deadpool and just not some no-name force of chaos, it turns out to be a gross mischaracterization of him. Deadpool is a hero. That's what I need to get through all y'all's skulls. Deadpool is a hero. Sure, he's a chaotic hero who gets people hurt, but Deadpool always works with the best intentions. He'd never willingly work with Joker. He would never willingly work with Joker. I'm going to say it again. He'd never willingly work with Joker. The only way they'd team up with Joker is if Joker was manipulating him. Deadpool is a character who is typically easy to manipulate. That's how he's ended up working with a bunch of villains in the Marvel Universe, because they've just manipulated him. So it'd be very easy to see Deadpool being manipulated by someone like Joker for this story. The thing is, they don't do that. In this crossover, he's fully willing to work with a villain whose plan is to kill damn near everyone in Gotham City. Why is he willing to work with Joker? Because Deadpool is crazy too. That's not who Deadpool is at all. That's not the kind of crazy Deadpool is. Deadpool is a hero. He's a f***ing hero, and he has always been the best of intentions, even if people do get hurt. And when people do get hurt, Deadpool will always do everything in his power to make things right. Deadpool is a hero. Deadpool has the best of intentions. This isn't Deadpool. That's not what Deadpool is in this story. This is such of a mischaracterization of Deadpool. I'd struggle to say this is even Deadpool at all. The first ever Marvel DC crossover in 20 years. Deadpool gets it. That's exciting. How could you do this to me? I really hope that Grant Morrison does a way better job with the character than in this book. I'm sorry, man. Like I said, Zeb Wells, I don't mean to give you any more grief. God knows you've gotten enough grief as is, but holy crap, how do you f*** up Deadpool this bad? Now on to number 4, Gambit v. Deadpool. This is basically the story of Gambit and Deadpool working with the scammer named Chalmers to essentially pull off the heist of the century. Of course, things go wrong and chaos ensues. So, this is a bit of a mischaracterization of Deadpool because he is scamming people with ill intent, but it's not horrendous like Deadpool Batman, because at the very least, Deadpool feels a lot more like Deadpool in this than he did there. And also, this story is funny as all hell. Like, it's really funny. There were several moments that had me laughing out loud. One that comes to mind immediately is literally just the entirety of the first issue. There are like a lot of jokes being told in this one issue that I laughed at, but my favorite is how it starts with Gambit and Deadpool meeting, looking antagonistically at each other. They say, "I haven't seen you since blah 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 blah," and it looks like they're about to fight. And then it goes over an entire flashback to the last time they worked together. By the end, as it turns out, they were friends. So we cut back to the present, and they're saying, "I have no reason to hate you, and I have no reason to hate you, but we do have a reason to hate Chalmers," right? It's like that, and I found that cute and funny. That was just funny. This book is the funniest on this list, I'll say. Like, I'm going to say that. This book was the funniest on this list. The reason this comic is so low, though, is because, one, as I said, this is a bit of a mischaracterization of Deadpool, right? Like, it's not horrendous like Deadpool Batman, but it is a mischaracterization that I couldn't really get over. But two, mainly the writing is objectively bad in the sense that it just keeps throwing new information at us that comes out of nowhere. Don't get me wrong, as I've said, this book is enjoyable as hell, but stuff just pops up out of nowhere and it feels jarring nearly every time. A good example of this is that there's an entire issue dedicated to the story of a new villain known as the Scrambler, right? It's just his entire story. The character comes out of nowhere in the previous issue as someone Remy and Deadpool have, scammed, right? That plot point comes out of nowhere. It just comes out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden he's given this entire origin issue. Objectively, the timing and the way this new aspect / character was introduced to the story felt like bad writing, and it just felt jarring and out of place. However, the actual issue itself was good. Like, I loved that issue a lot. By the end of it, I was very interested and invested in the story of the Scrambler and who he is as a character, right? And now I'm genuinely a fan of him. I hope we get more with him and, like, what happens to him after the ending of the story. I genuinely love it. But overall, I think that issue is a great representation of what Gambit Deadpool is about. A really fun story that keeps throwing random curveballs at you at a drawing pace. Overall, though, I would recommend you read it, if anything, because it is funny. It is really funny. That's a good standout. It's the funniest book on this list, I'd say. Hey guys, it's King off script here. Turns out the Scrambler was indeed a character pre-established. So yeah, sorry about that. But like, even still, it did feel like the way that he was written, it did feel out of nowhere, right? It all felt out of nowhere. So yeah, sorry about that. But like, it fell out of nowhere, but even still, I still love Scrambler anyway. I'm a Scrambler fan. I hope we get more of him in his new life, maybe. If you guys know of any comics where it's about him in his new life, please tell me. But yeah, no, even if he was pre-established, it still felt out of nowhere, I still feel, So yeah, sorry about that. Back to the scripted part of the video. Now on to number 3, Punisher Deadpool. There are spoilers for how this comic ends, so I'll make sure to put a spoiler warning in it, but just so you know, there are spoilers for how this comic ends. But this is a story where Deadpool is working for the man who handles the money of every Marvel crime family you know of. Kingpin, Hammerhead, Tombstone, Dawn of the Dead, you name it, this guy handles their money. Thus, Punisher has a vested interest in killing this man and freezing all of these families' accounts. The thing is, Deadpool has a vested interest in not only this man, but his son, who refers to Wade as Uncle Deadpool. I think it's Uncle Deadpool or Uncle Wade, one of those two. It's very cute, though. It's a very sweet moment, though. So chaos ensues, fights happen. There's a weird plot point where every time Deadpool is shot in the head, he forgets a bunch of stuff. And yeah, that's basically the book. That's the entirety of the book. Just Deadpool and Punisher fighting over this one man and whether he should live or not. And I like this because it proves my point that if Deadpool is working for the bad guys, it's because he's being manipulated emotionally in a way, right? Like, sure, he's working for a horrible criminal in this story, right? But like, it's fine because it's not really, he doesn't really care about the criminal per se. It's more he cares about the kid and his kid, right? The kid calls him Uncle Deadpool. Deadpool is incredibly affectionate and protective over this kid, right? And then in the end, spoiler alert, skip ahead 10 seconds. In the end, Deadpool goes on about not killing this kid's father because the kid will be traumatized, which was incredibly in character for Deadpool. And yeah, like this just proves that Deadpool can work for a villain in a crossover, but have it be for like good reasons or good intentions, right? And honestly, I thought I'd hate that whole short-term memory plotline where they shoot him in the head and he just forgets everything. However, the way they use it is funny or cool, and that's what makes me love it. To the point where like it didn't harm the story and make it feel bad or like cheap. It didn't feel cheap. I thought it'd feel like a cheap way to give Punisher, the guy without a healing factor, an advantage in this like story, but it didn't. This is off script, but I also really love how this is an actual fight between them, right? There's like one of 2 stories in here where it's like an actual fight between Punisher and Deadpool throughout the entire thing. I love that a lot. Yeah. The reason why this is at number 3 instead of 1 or 2, though, is just simple. I just prefer the other 2 stories more, and they go a bit better with like the characterization of Deadpool in it. So yeah, but overall I'd recommend you give this one a read. It's a really fun read. It's like Gambit Deadpool, right? Where it's a fun read, and I actually really love it a lot. Now on to number 2. Black Panther vs. Deadpool. While stopping a bad guy, Deadpool accidentally wrecks a safe block, and even worse, accidentally critically injures the Fantastic Four's mailman, Willie Lumpkin. Willie is now on the verge of death, and the only thing that could save him is a piece of vibranium. Deadpool travels all the way to Wakanda to retrieve some, and that's where he meets Black Panther, and chaos ensues. I like this for two reasons. One is the fact that it gets Deadpool's character oh so right. Deadpool f***ing up, trying to fix that up, and then proceeding to f*** up even more is basically what his best books are about. So, A+ on the characterization, folks. I also really love it because it's oddly subversive on the tropes of a crossover. It does that thing where it's incredibly self-aware about what's going on, but once it's done being self-aware and once Deadpool's done giving the rules of this crossover speech, where he basically says, there's rules to this crossover, we gotta meet up, we gotta, talk it out, we gotta do that, there's gonna be misunderstanding, we're gonna fight. It actually goes in the opposite direction in an interesting way for a bit, because for a bit it does follow the rules of the crossover that you mentioned, right? And then in the middle of the series, something happens, I don't want to spoil it, but something happens and it flips this crossover on its head and makes the story feel unique amongst the various other crossovers we've seen outside of like Gambit Deadpool, right? I also really love how they handle the problematic bits of the story, because throughout this story, Deadpool does a lot of problematic things. The two that come to mind are the fact that when he first meets up with Black Panther, Deadpool just yells out Hakuna Matata. And the second one is how Deadpool dons his own Black Panther suit to fight T'Challa with. Deadpool has quite a few of these moments, and the thing that makes it great is the fact that he's never allowed to get away with it. But each problematic moment that Deadpool has is met with consequences from Black Panther himself. Whether it's Black Panther being the absolute shit out of Wade and then kicking him out of Wakanda, to chopping off Deadpool's head off, to calling him lots of mean things, or even calling upon the ancestors to beat the crap out of Wade. I'm glad that the writers took this approach, because it'd be incredibly if Wade just got away with this kind of stuff within a Black Panther book. Also, it made Black Panther knowing about Ta-Nehisi Coates' canon. He knows Ta-Nehisi Coates. He's actually met him and talked with him. And I love the fact that that's canon in the universe. Overall, this book is great. It's a fun read, and it doesn't mischaracterize Deadpool at all. The only reason is it's at number 2 is just because I've heard the other book's story a bit more than this one's. Number 1. Hawkeye vs. Deadpool. This one's going to be short because I legit want you guys to read this. But yeah, one Halloween night, a flash drive containing the information of every S.H.I.E.L.D. agent in existence is being fought over between a crime ring run by Black Cat and the combined forces of Deadpool, Clint Barton, and Kate Bishop. Things happen, twists, turns, and, say it with me folks, chaos ensues. I made that plot summary vague because this is a book that's great and I want you to read it. It does everything Black Panther vs. Deadpool did well, and then added an intriguing story on top of that. Not that I'm calling Black Panther vs. Deadpool bad, but I was legit interested in this Hawkeye vs. Deadpool story more than just because the characters on the cover, right? That's what it felt like with the other crossovers. It felt like with other crossovers, we're here just for Gambit and Deadpool, or we're just here for Batman and Deadpool, or we're just here for Deadpool crossing over with someone else. Here, though, it felt like we were here for the characters and also the story that they inhabit. And that's what I felt. That's why I feel like this is number 1. This story was incredible, and it was incredibly interesting. I was intrigued from start to finish. That being said, the characters here were great. This was made by Jerry Duggan, my personal favorite Deadpool writer. I don't know if he's racist or something. My friend won't answer my text anymore. Yeah, I love Gary Duggan's work on Deadpool at the very least, and I'm enjoying. Sorry, I muted my mic. But I love Gary Duggan's work on Deadpool. He's my favorite Deadpool writer, and I've been enjoying Mirage right now. Yeah, I really love what he's done with the character, and I love the fact that he made Deadpool a dad, which is an important factor in this story in a heartwarming way, where Deadpool's entire motive is, I need to get those flash drives because my friend Preston is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who's watching over my daughter. I've given custody of my daughter over to Preston. If she gets hurt, my daughter gets hurt, right? And that's incredibly heartwarming. My favorite part of all this, though, is when Deadpool and Hawkeye are finished fighting some bad guys, Hawkeye suggests they touch base with S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. However, Deadpool's daughter is with those S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. So Wade says something along the lines of, I can't go right now. I need to heal. I don't want Ella seeing me full of holes. And that is just adorable, and I love it a lot. Overall, I really like this book. The story and the turns it takes were interesting. And the jokes were pretty damn good. I gotta say, it's not as funny as Gambit v Deadpool. Like I said, if you're looking for funny, read Gambit v Deadpool. It's hilarious. But overall, this is the best characterization of everything on this list. So ultimately, Deadpool is a nuanced character. He's an incredibly nuanced character. Deadpool Batman don't understand that quite the same way that some other books do. If you're not a fan of Deadpool, I hope you leave this knowing why people like me love him so much. And maybe you'll read some own Deadpool comics yourself, you know? Yeah. Thank you for watching, folks. If you enjoyed the video, congratulations, I guess. And see you next time.